Your Excellency, dear professors, dear graduates, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Rectorate of the University of Vienna, I wish you a very warm welcome in our wonderful ceremonial hall for this graduation ceremony. It is a great pleasure for me and an honor for the University of Vienna to celebrate this day with the Diplomatic Academy. And I must admit that it is also, for me personally, a great joy and a moving moment to be able to stand here on this pedestal. It's been such a long time. This is the first such event I'm moderating for more than a year, one and a half years actually. And this time, these 1.5 years of interruption were difficult for many of us. We had the first lockdown in March last year, and the pandemic brought many challenges for all of us, and including the University of Vienna. When it all started, we were amazed how swiftly and how competently we as an organization managed these challenges. I personally was actually quite surprised how smoothly we went digital with our entire teaching. Within a few days, we mastered to this transformation. Also, the administration switched to home office and worked from there very efficiently, sometimes even more efficiently than when they were here in the offices, perhaps chatting and distracting by other things. But overall, we were very impressed, and a big thanks goes to all members of the University of Vienna who contributed to this, to mastering this challenge, to the personnel, to the professors, and also our students. But despite this swift response, many suffered a lot. Especially employees who had small kids at home, living in smallish flats, they were struggling. Early stage researchers had a difficult time to do their research in the lab or the field and go to conferences. We had 2 generations of students who had not seen the university from the inside at the beginning of their studies. They had not been able to meet the professors or the fellow students. And this hurts our heart, especially because studying is not just about acquiring abstract knowledge. Studying is about lively discussions, it's about critical debate, it's about learning norms, it's about learning codes of conduct. And all these things cannot be learned from books alone. You need to come together and exchange yourself with others, become a part of the group. It's an act of socialization, so the pandemic has taken a terrible toll here. But there's also good news. We've learned a lot in this pandemic. I already mentioned that digital transformation went very smoothly, and it was a catalyst. It forced us to experiment, and in doing so we discovered new, sometimes better ways of doing things. So we discovered new formats of online teaching. We had new ways of holding hearings. That was a surprising thing. We have hired in this period, we have hired more than 70 professors. 70 professors was the biggest expansion we've had in 150 years here at the University of Vienna, personnel expansion. And it went surprisingly well. We managed to hire excellent new professors. And so this was a surprising element, and we were perhaps also a bit more, open, because we said, let's. Before we had to think, do we want to fly in someone from Australia for a talk? What's the chances that they will accept? Now we just do it online and see how it goes. So that was a great thing. Also for doctoral defenses, we had more impressive committees from the US and other places. and we will probably want to keep these new forms of collaboration. So we are now in a process here at the University of Vienna of kind of sourcing very broadly throughout the entire university, what have we learned from this pandemic that now seems to come to an end slowly. Today, many of the bands are lifted. You are still supposed to wear this mask and to keep some distance, but we're slowly coming back to normal with the orchestra and the music. No singing, unfortunately, towards the end, so please, you have to refrain from singing the national anthem. So let me mention also the international relations. So I'm a vice rector of research and international affairs, and so international affairs are particularly close to my heart. And it's been a mixed bag here, international relation, because clearly the student exchange has suffered a lot. We have 1,000 per year, 1,000 students in a normal year, 1,000 students going out, 1,000 students coming in. So we are an open international universities, and these people were deprived from a life-transforming event of going abroad. So this was very tough. Corona was tough on them, on our students who would have liked to have this experience abroad. But on the other hand, we have also invested a lot in our international relations, and especially we have a network that we now lead. It's called the Central Network, which brings together the universities of Central Europe in Berlin and Budapest, in Prague and Warsaw and Vienna. So the five of us, we are big, traditional, well-respected universities. We want to be a center of competence for Central Europe. We have close historical ties, we have cultural affinity, so we invested now in this network, we are leading this network, and we want to collaborate more and we want to come together. And so I want to thank Ambassador Brix in supporting us and promoting the network. And this is an incredible asset for us due to his enormous experience, fantastic network. We are extremely grateful that you will help us to promote this network here in Vienna and abroad. Many thanks, Ambassador. So, this is just one example of the excellent relations we have to the Diplomatic Academy. We have some of our best professors teach at the Diplomatic Academy. We do joint professorial hires. We run a joint doctoral program, so they're very close ties, friendly relations. Sometimes I get invitations for coming over to lunch, so I hope I did a great job today and you'll invite me again. So we are extremely pleased to have you all here as the guests of the University of Vienna and to hold this ceremony, and I hope you will take it as a sign of our friendship and gratitude. So many thanks to all of you for participating in this festive event. My best congratulations to all the graduates. May the future be bright and may you have a pleasant day of festivity today. Thank you very much.
Magnificent. Soon to be graduates to the 24th Master of Advanced International Studies, Werner Neudeck. Members of the faculty, ladies and gentlemen, family, friends. It's good to be able to look into your eyes again. I guess you feel the same. The Vice Rector mentioned that he hadn't been up here, this lecture, for 1.5 years about. And it feels that we all somehow couldn't enter places we want to enter, and we want to use them. And especially for you, the students. You dedicated now 2 years to the special education that's possible in collaboration with the University of Vienna. And we feel that it's only now and I use an American jargon, that it feels like a touchdown, that it feels that we can touch ground again, that I can see you, can see me. And that's why I feel that's not just another graduation, at least not for the Diplomatic Academy of Vienna. It is a special moment, which is also a sign that we can overcome disruptions. The Vice Rector already spoke about how difficult but fast the transformation to distant learning happens. And I have to congratulate you that you accepted this sort of distance. You may remember when we started almost 2 years ago. Nobody knew about what was going to happen. Wuhan was for most of us another one of those million inhabitant city somewhere in China. And then things changed. It was a disruption, which, as also the Vice Rector mentioned, is also an experience which is part of your life from now on. It's not only the knowledge, it's not only how we can react to this, but also that we have to become, and I'm sorry to use a political jargon, we have to become resilient. You have to become resilient. We don't know what will happen. And that's why this is a special moment, this sort of graduation that we have today. It is one of the great moments of our master program when I say my welcome to you. To the students soon to become graduates, but also parents, friends, faculty, staff, sponsors, and the University of Vienna. For me as a director of the Diplomatic Academy, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. I used to stand in this room on the other side for various times to receive an honor from the University of Vienna. But after my studies, I decided, like you, to go to the Diplomatic Academy of Vienna, and I spent 2 years studying there. And my 2 years as a student there decisively formed my professional life in various ways. I lived and studied in an exhilarating community of young people, like yours, from almost all continents, and I acquired the prerequisites for my career. Actually, I didn't really know at the end of my studies where my career would lead me. And for many of you, this may sound very familiar. So trust and believe that you will find the way you really want to go. We hope that in these 2 years, as difficult as they were, you had so many exchanges with your colleagues, your friends, and you understand what it means studying at the Diplomatic Academy. I hope that you realized that this was an asset, or is an asset, for your future life, because it broadened, and this is very pathetic, but I feel it broadened horizons, and I hope it broadened also your mind. You are a group of altogether 62 students, almost all of you here. The rest is somewhere online. You can follow us on live stream, partly at the Diplomatic Academy. They are waiting for you after the celebration here. And you come from 30 countries, from 4 continents. Almost 2/3 come from abroad. More than 50% female. I always like to stress this. And you have various previous studies. And that's actually, I think, one of the important things. You have the international relations, law, political science, economic business background. That's the normal one. But you also have people among yourselves who come from languages like Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, from design, from theater directing, and music. I'm proud that in spite of all these difficulties, you managed not only to finish your studies, but for most of you in an excellent way. And that is something that we are here to celebrate. My thanks go to various people, certainly. And my thanks have to go to the faculty first, because they guided you through your academic years. Maybe some of them you wouldn't like to see on Zoom all the time, but I can share your feelings. I had yesterday 4 Zoom conferences where I had to speak about 4 different topics, always online only. I did not really enjoy it. So, sorry, Mr. Vice Rector, this should not be our future. But in some ways, there are perspectives that we can use. I fully agree. We also had to find a new professor for economics, and I did the negotiations online, mostly online. But let me say, I thank all of the faculty, our permanent staff, postdocs, visiting professors, Fulbright professor, and I say this as a main point of what I would like to convey to you, because the Academy is committed to academic excellence. Academic excellence is the thing we are about. And we also like to equip you with language skills and other competencies. And this is one sentence I already said, it is the most important one in the morning when we graduated the diploma course. And I will say tomorrow when we graduate MAIS 23, belatedly at the Academy, we are dedicated to the fundamental values of openness and the liberal world order. So this is an open place. And we expect you also to act in an open society in the future. These are big words, and I know that you are waiting to get your degrees. But I have, of course, to mention one professor in particular, because you made the strange decision to name your course after him. Werner Neudeck. Welcome, Werner. Your first academic year was his last year as Dean of the MAIS program. He has been the DA's longest serving resident faculty member. He has lectured here since 1985. He has been professor of international economics and Dean of the MAIS program since its beginning in 1997, I guess. And although he retired from his position as the DA's chair of economics, he is as active as ever and continues his teaching activities. Even Werner learned to use Zoom, by the way. And although we have now a DA tennis team with your successor, Martin Feldkircher, we will of course continue the tradition also of the walk through the vineyards you introduced. And I'm sure you remember these famous walks. And we all love your spleen for everything British. I also certainly want to thank our sponsors. Our sponsors make it possible that almost 30% of our students get some sort of financial support in grants and scholarships. So I would like to thank the Scholarship Fund of the Diplomatic Academy and all our other sponsors. I also certainly thank our other partners, the Board of Trustees of the Academy, the embassies and international organizations here, and of course the city of Vienna, a city which is certainly an open place. And last but not least, I would like to mention your parents, your friends, also our staff from the Diplomatic Academy. I see them all around here, and all the persons who supported you through your studies in this, what some people call interesting times. Please don't repeat this word anymore. You started your studies before the pandemic changed our lives. But after not even half a year, we were caught by the outbreak of COVID-19. It has been a challenge to all our ways of teaching, learning, and working. We are aware of the fact that you as the class of 2021 experienced two of the most difficult academic years ever. But I'm somehow proud to say there is a difference between a place like the University of Vienna and the Diplomatic Academy of Vienna, because we managed, because we are a small family of altogether only 200 people, we managed to be a little bit more flexible, a little bit more open, all given the sanitary regulations and all that, but we managed somehow to meet and see, at least sometimes, and the academy was never really closed. And actually this graduation is a sign that now we can do it together again with the University of Vienna. It's a shame, I think. It's a shame that in the last 2 years, students around the globe missed out on so many things. It's a shame how politics worldwide treated the universities. And I have to say, this is also true for Austria. Students and the universities were the last to be taken care of. The reopening of a normal university comes later than the reopening of fitness centers and even night bars. And for a country like Austria, I'm sorry to say so, but you should hear it, it's a shame, and I have to apologize. We gave our best and tried to provide you with hybrid and in-person classes as much as possible, and I'm especially thankful for the cooperation with the student initiative that we have, and also for the course speakers and volunteers in our COVID working committee, assessing the situation, sharing your concerns, advising and cooperating with the administration on making the best of the situation on all of us. I and my deputy, we remember quite some not so easy discussions with your students' representatives. But we always enjoyed them because it showed us there is something you want. You understand that you are here for a specific reason for these 2 years at the academy, and we could not offer everything that we hoped that we could offer in this time. But you learned important skills also for your future life, to cope with unexpected and difficult situations, to practice what you might call emotional intelligence, and to adapt to new circumstances. It was not all doom and gloom. And of course, the COVID-19 situation caused collateral damage to the student life also here in Vienna. Above all, that we couldn't do the study trips and the ball of the Diplomatic Academy. And of course, the legendary Sommerfest that should have taken place tomorrow will be postponed, and you will be invited for next year and the coming years. I never thought that our most exciting study trip would lead us to the main hall of the Foreign Ministry to get vaccinated. But that's what the situation actually demanded. And still, your 2 academic years had special moments. You had a festive Christmas extravaganza in your first year. You wrote regularly for the magazine, your own magazine, Polemics. You practiced how a big conference has to be organized in the DASI conference, Equality in Progress, Empowering Women, and also in your first year, Climate Coaction, Joint Solutions to the Climate Crisis. And I remember this was opened by no less than the Federal President van der Bellen at our academy. And you negotiated UN simulations about a binding agreement addressing marine biological diversity. Let's hope that some of this can be realized. And we also tried to make the exchange programs, and the Vice Rector mentioned the problems of the University of Vienna. We tried to make some of them possible. And at least 2 of you attended courses at MGIMO in Moscow and the Hebrew University online, at least. And 2 of you even traveled to Seoul and went to the Korea University for a few months. And 2 students from the Hebrew University were able to come here for the first trimester. That was a concrete result of different politics regarding the COVID crisis, that 2 Israeli students could come to Vienna. it was lockdown period in Austria. During these 2 years, you learned a lot about disruptions. And I think this is a word which has a specific meaning. And during the years, you heard in all our academic fields how important disruptions are. In history, you learned from the Congress of Vienna to the 2 world wars about disruptions. In economics, disruptions is the order of the day, I would even say, and you cherish them and you can swim in disruptions, I guess. And for international law and for international politics, disruptions and conflict solutions are something which is quite normal. But because of the crisis, you learned on your own body what disruption means. You had to learn it, what it meant to you, to your friends, relatives, families. And my guess is that you are prepared how to deal with disruptions. When I thought about my own life, do I remember disruptions, social disruptions? There's only one thing that I can really remember as a big disruption, and that was in Europe, the end of the communist regimes in Central and Eastern Europe. And that's why I immediately accepted the offer of the University of Vienna to help with this concept of Central European universities. And this was a disruption where I thought, as an Austrian, I'm not directly concerned. Like many of you say, I'm not directly concerned, I'm healthy, nothing happened. But actually, you find these sort of disruptions all around, and the question is always how you deal with them, what you make out of that. We tried to teach you what this word resilience might mean. Maybe you have heard that today the Chinese president Xi Jinping gave a speech on Tiananmen Square on the occasion of the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Chinese Communist Party. And what did he say there? He said, "We won't be bullied by anybody." This is disruption coming to our geopolitical world. You and we have to respond to these sort of things. Nobody wants to be bullied, but do we want to be the bulls or the bears or whatever? So we will have to respond in all the fields where we work or we are active, how to deal with these sort of attempts of bullying, or maybe just signals of the world is changing, that it's really disruptive. So be prepared for all this. But you did much more practical things in your 2 years, and I congratulate you on this. Some of you sang in the DA choir, or at least you rehearsed in the DA choir, to be more precisely, and I don't want to cross any legal boundaries by saying that you sang in the DA choir. You played football, you trained your skills in the Spanish society, you organized a new queer at DA society, which was very active throughout the year. The Sage Society was very actively cooperating with us and the ombudspersons, and recently you even went back to wine tasting. That sounds to me like a signal of normalcy, I would say. And during the last weeks, you had the chance to attend events again, for instance, with the French Minister for European Affairs at our place, or the President of Kosovo, and also other political leaders we had here. And one thing I would like to stress as a positive element, a small one possibly, but I think it was a good one because we will keep it. We had to adjust our conference program in the last 1.5 years and do our public events online. But this had a splendid side effect. We decided that you, the students, could moderate these events and practice some skills. And you did a brilliant job. We will continue it with the next classes at the Diplomatic Academy. So I wish you the best of perspectives for a difficult time in finding the right job on the job market. We made extensive use, as you know, of our possibilities in career services, seminars, workshops, career talks. We were happy to make a Q&A sessions with the human affairs representatives from major corporations, and you had a lot of one-on-one career counselings more than ever before. You know, it is difficult to say such a thing in this splendid hall, the main hall of the University of Vienna, but even the DA can look back on a long history, almost 270 years. And this was not fair sailing all the time. It was full of disruptions. But the academy and the standards we follow are still here. Survived 2 world wars, survived actually a lot of changes in the political regimes and political situation. And still we are here. You are now part of it. And that's also part of my congratulations. You are part of this family, part of the international family at your alma mater. I hope that you will join the Club DA. For those of you who didn't so far, please feel invited. The DA Club is very active. There are many local chapters. Wherever your life will lead you, please continue to be in contact. But go now. Go. The games begin after these 2 years. Go into the world as a responsible and active citizen in this ever-changing world. I give you only one quote. No speeches without a quote. I quote you the Polish writer Stanisław Jerzy, and I recommend that you read more of him. Listen carefully. He said, I prefer the sign no entrance to the sign which says no exit. He prefers the sign no entrance to the sign which says no exit. I have the feeling in Austria and hopefully around the world we are going towards a situation where at least the sign have changed. I wish every one of you all the best for your future. You worked hard for this moment, so enjoy this ceremony. Welcome.
Dear Vice Rector, dear Director, dear Deputy Director, dear colleagues, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. A couple of things are different this time around. We're sitting a little bit further apart. Many of you wear masks. Nevertheless, it's really wonderful to be here with all of you. And coming up the stairs here, something happened to me that had never happened before because I followed the signs Werner Neudeck. Allow me to say a few things about that at the beginning. Being a social scientist, I'm always interested in why questions. So why Werner Neudeck? Let me start to speculate why you baptized your course Werner Neudeck. Perhaps because he's a highly accomplished professor of economics. An expert in health economics, actually, which is rather topical in our days, because he researched and taught at many glamorous places, including Oxford and Johns Hopkins. I doubt that this is the reason why you selected his name. Werner is much too modest to scream all of this from the rooftop. So, next guess, perhaps because he was a really wonderful colleague and dean who did miracles for the excellent atmosphere amongst professors at the Diplomatic Academy. This is, of course, a great accomplishment. Professors usually fight with one another without interruption for no reason. In our case, it was never like that. But again, I do not think that all of this is sufficiently known amongst the student community. So let me keep on my guessing. Perhaps because he shaped the DA like no one else in the last decades. Because he started teaching at the DA when I barely left grammar school. Because he and Gerhard Leubel drafted the law that constitutes the DA. Because it was him who institutionalized the MAIS program. Because he was dean for so many years. I suppose we are getting a little closer to the answer. But again, I'm not sure whether all of you know all the nitty-gritty little details about this. Actually, the only one in the world who knows all of them, every single word in the DA law and how it relates to every other single word in the DA law and all kinds of other Austrian, European and international laws is Gerhard Leubel. No, I think the reason why you chose his name is because you know him as a truly brilliant and enthusiastic teacher, always happy to engage with students, listening to them, spending time with them. He's someone who understands that academic rigor, while important, is not everything. There's a softer side to the DA, say the Weinwanderungsside, and this one goes very well with the academic rigor. So I can only congratulate you for choosing Professor Werner Neulich's name. Having retired last year, he was an excellent choice, and I'm very happy that you honored him in this way. And I also know that it means a lot to him. Dear Werner, let me, in the name of the faculty, simply say thank you so much for everything that you have done for this institution. We very much hope that you'll continue to teach for us and be with us for many, many more years to come. While this is a reason to celebrate, this is obviously not the only one to rejoice. Let me talk now a little bit about your last 2 years. Closed lecture theatres, locked seminar rooms, empty corridors, being stuck in your room all by yourself, staring at the screen all day, not being allowed to meet friends and fellow students, being compelled to run around with masks. I suppose that before coming to the DA, you imagined studying at the DA quite differently. Yet this was, for the most part, what you experienced, a DA 2.0, so to say, a digital DA that had been altogether inconceivable before spring 2020. Fast forward. Today, here we are. We are again in this beautiful grand hall of the university. Some friends and family are with you, and I look into a lot of happy faces. We're here to celebrate what you have achieved. And equally important, a few weeks ago, you started to breathe life into our school again. Playing table tennis in the garden, chatting away, simply enjoying each other's company. The DA felt like the DA again. A few days ago, we even met again at the Heurigen, where everything began for you 2 years ago, and I saw a lot of happy faces there too. So in this way, long live DA 1.0. We are too closely knit a community to be reduced to the zeros and ones of digital interaction. What are we going to make of this experience? For one, personal contacts matter a great deal. We, students and staff, are a community and much better off seeing one another directly than through screens and cameras. A pandemic was probably not required to remind us of this important fact, but it underlined it in drastic fashion. Two, you can be extra proud of yourself. Psychologically speaking, your age group was the hardest hit by the pandemic. A lot of studies in this country and elsewhere show this very clearly. Nevertheless, you made it. Today, we are here and you will graduate, and this is truly a great accomplishment. You accomplished something that even under normal circumstances is not easy. It's a demanding program. Under Corona conditions, everything was even more challenging. And you prevailed. You made it. Nevertheless, be proud of it. 3, look optimistically towards the future. Now that you master economics, law, history, political science, and all kinds of languages, you actually know a lot. On top of this, you know that you can succeed in the face of adversity. During your career, it is unlikely that everything will go smoothly all the time. There probably will be a few bumps in the road. It is very important that these bumps do not discourage you. You must continue to believe in yourself and try hard. 4, think about the kind of world that you want to shape. The pandemic could be a wake-up call, reminding humankind that we need to address the challenges that we face effectively, and effectively presupposes addressing them together, because the world has come to be a highly globalized and interdependent place. Make no mistake, you are the coming generation. You will need to deal with problems that preceding generations have not been able to solve or may even have caused. Think outside of the box, be inventive, be daring. Go out there and make us proud. We, as a faculty, wish you all the very best for your future.
Rael Almonte, USA, Dominican Republic. Constanze Armi, Austria. Nathaniel Kenneth Armstrong, USA. Anna Magdalena and Germany. Sarah Maria Bamberger, Austria. Lioba Bamme, Austria. James Patrick Butler, USA. Vanessa Casares Luquin, Mexico. Pape Lat Fatim Diouf, Senegal. Franz Xavier Eder, Austria. Maria Angeliki Yanako, Greece. Murat Kibadyukov, Russian Federation. Bernhard Gollop, Austria. Leila Zanbegovic, Bosnia-Herzegovina. Ellison Kelly Hay, Canada, Italy. Affan Haider, Belgium. Karina Yasmin Karik, Austria. Veronika Kovac, Hungary. Anna-Sophie Griffner, Austria. Katerina Krivsha, Ukraine. Brigitte Lager, Austria. Nicolas Liba, Luxembourg. Esther Manuela Amadi, Côte d'Ivoire. Tobias May, Austria. Melchiorre Gianluca, Germany. Ulrike Sonia Miglo, Germany. Alexandra Denisa Motica, Romania. Marion Neumann, Austria. Caroline Pachet, Austria. Debanwita Paul, India. David P. Hamberger, Austria. Anastasia Perevalova, Russian Federation. Evelina Petkova, Bulgaria, Moldova. Natalia Kinga Piotrowicz, Poland. Brett Robert Pitsley, USA. David Ragger, Austria. Anna Michaela Reindl, Austria. Manuel Eligio Rodaro, Austria. Brianna Tia Santiago, USA, Brazil. Rudolf Gerhard Schatz, Austria. Clevis Sevrani, Japan, Albania. Stefania Stregel, Austria. Ethan Sasser, USA, Latvia. Zeutu Moges Teshome, Ethiopia. Daniela Milan Vana, Canada, Czech Republic. Dennis Vetter, Austria. Heinrich Leinert Evangelius Warenland, Germany. Noemi Weckbecker, Germany. Susanna Wittner, Austria. Birgit Wulz, Austria. Daniel Žemla, Czech Republic. Melle Alexander Zwankhuisen, Germany.
Good afternoon, Vice Rector, Ambassador Brix, Deputy Director, Administration Board, professors, colleagues, friends, and family members. I am extremely honored to have been nominated to talk to you on such an important day. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It means a lot to me. When I first arrived at the Diplomatic Academy, I was impressed, actually amazed by the brilliant people with such diverse backgrounds and nationalities. Being honest, sometimes I was also intimidated. As our first year progressed, I realized that we all had our purpose here, whether it was to obtain a tuition waiver, find an internship, a job, and I'm sure each of us worked hard to achieve our goals, and we will keep doing so as we move forward into the next chapter of our lives. Since I arrived here, I always wanted to get to know my colleagues, and particularly what brought them here. I wanted to know the real reason that you decided to go through the entire enrollment process, traveling to Vienna, for some even leaving your job, family, and homeland for 2 years. What motivated you to start this journey, and more importantly, what kept you going on despite the adversity? Perhaps I should ask, why are you here? Today, I would like you to reflect on this, to take a moment to remember why you did this master. But also, I encourage you to take a moment to recognize all your effort and the people that were always there for you to support. Each of you know how many hours you spent studying and which sacrifices you made to be here. I am so proud of each of you and the community we built together. Regardless of our different motivations, backgrounds, and personality, we end up in the same place with the DA as our common ground, or as some like to call it, the bubble. However, in March 2020, a virus named COVID-19 burst our bubble. It was Friday before our second exam week began, and we were not sure whether to keep studying or start packing and go home. And just like that, one email titled, "Next week, exams cancelled," changed everything for us at the DA. Since that day, we have had to say goodbye to friends that didn't come back. We had to say bye to our study trips, classrooms, friends, student life, and many other plans we had taken for granted. We faced an unprecedented challenge, and despite all the difficulties, we managed to make the most out of it. Special thanks to Dasi and our course speakers for raising our concerns with the administration to make things better, and to the student societies for doing your best to adapt to the new circumstances to keep our community together. Thank you to all the faculty and staff of the DA for doing your best to handle this unexpected situation. I think we all did our best with what we had. As we begin to move forward towards our future careers, it feels like overnight we went from saying, "Hi, where are you from?" to, "So, what's next?" I hope each of you will always remember to act with respect towards our fellow colleagues and towards ourselves. I know questions about the future can be complicated. For those of us whose future is still uncertain, be patient. Keep in mind that we have had faced different and difficult challenges before, and I know you all have the capacity to achieve what you want. I also want to take this opportunity to remind you that beyond our personal goals, there is a world out there facing multiple issues and a lot of people in need. Equipped with the experiences shared by our professors, colleagues, and guest speakers, we are leaving the DA more conscious about global issues and capable of using what we learned for good, for improving our society, our environment, and our planet. It won't be easy, but I know that in front of me sits a group of people with the potential to make things better, wherever they are, in whichever manner they choose. We've survived the exams, the endless paper, the thesis, the deadlines, the pandemic. We got this. Being here was one of the best experiences of my life, and I still believe since day one that I am where I need to be. And you, my colleagues, my darlings, are one of the reasons why. No matter where we go or how much time passes, you will always find a colleague and a friend in me. Congratulations for this achievement, and I wish you all the best for the future. esteemed Ambassador Brix, Vice Rector Tyran, Deputy Director Kepler-Schlesinger, dear professors and members of the DA administration, beloved colleagues, and lucky plus ones who have made it on the list. Pre-pandemic me would have never believed that I would say this. Like Vanessa did, I would like to start by thanking you. Firstly, for trusting me to be your course speaker together with Noemi, and secondly, for voting for me for a second time in order to hold this speech. I have to admit that it feels good to know that I have won your trust and your friendship. I thought for a long time what I could say in these few minutes so as to not transform them into an opportunity to check social media. I decided that I would take on the Dickensian role of the ghost of DA past and take you with me on a journey to our past 2 years. Fall of 2019. Dozens of curious faces queue in the hallway in front of the H4. Little did we know that in those moments that we were waiting for registration, friendships would be forged. Hey, I'm Alex, and you are? Nice to meet you. Where are you from? Needless to say, remembering everyone's names and their respective nationalities was very difficult, and it would often lead to awkward situations, such as that time when I asked an Austrian colleague whether she would sign up for a German course. Time would pass, and we started figuring out who was studying in which year and which program. Our life at the DA was significantly better with the help of a number of characters, such as Wilhelm the Weasel, Max Meduna, and golden-suited Simon. May he never be afraid of his life. We all know how small of a community the DA is, so it did not come as a surprise that rumors would be part of it. Who writes down everything that is said in class? Will the IDs list really be helpful to prepare for the history exam? We know how that went. Where does the DA wine actually come from? Who goes out with whom? Is that their real family name? I think, without a doubt, the place that has seen the most is the Tipsy. From the daily coffee breaks, which would bring along interesting conversations, to the legendary parties and after parties that would keep our neighbors angry. But unfortunately, some of us were caught up in the academic stress and promised ourselves that we would attend next year's events. We all know how that turned out. Nonetheless, while some were kept apart by this past year, others were brought closer together. After over a year of Zoom, we had to relearn how to socialize and how to wear proper pants. We learned the joy of reunion. We remembered how tall some of our colleagues actually are. And most importantly, we never again complained about the coffee on campus. In the meantime, no matter how much our views differed, we were united in one aspect. We stood up. Not only for ourselves, we stood up against injustices happening all around the world. We stood up against inequalities between people of different races, genders, or sexual orientations. And that is because if our community is anything, that is the place where everybody is welcome. And we felt like we owed it to the world to make everybody feel the same. So in the end, no matter where each and every one of us ends up being, I am sure of one thing: we will do good. Thank you.